Operation Metro Surge is what they're calling it, and it sure has seen a surge in shootings as well as confrontation between citizens and law enforcement. Remember, I'm talking about all that has been happening in America's Minnesota. U.S. President Donald Trump remains unhinged on the fatal ICE shootings. Minnesota has become a hotbed of confrontation where 2 American citizens have been shot dead in less than a month, triggering widespread protests and a pushback by the state's Democrat governor. But despite chaos, the White House has refused to back down on Operation Metro Surge. The showdown between ICE and local residents, remember, is increasing by the day. First, it was legal observer Renee Nicole Good who was shot in the head by an ICE agent. And now it's 37-year-old American Alex Pretty who was shot dead in the same city. Now, there are 2 versions of this story. One pushed by the Trump administration, the other one comes from the opposition. The federal government says that Alex Pretty carried a gun and intended to harm the ICE agents. But eyewitness accounts and footage of the incident paints a completely different picture.
Yeah, I don't know your windows. No, you're just right inside. Let's go around.
Now remember, Pretty cannot be seen approaching to take out his weapon. In fact, ICE agents unloaded 10 rounds on him seconds after spraying chemical irritant to his face. U.S. law allows federal agents to use deadly force, but this applies for self-defense against a threat posed by the aggressor. When Alex Pretty was shot, he was surrounded by ICE agents who were already making efforts to control him. This incident has reignited the political blame game between the Trump administration and the state government headed by Democrat Governor Tim Walz. Donald Trump has pinned the blame for the killings on Democrats. In a post in his Truth Social network, the U.S. president claimed that Democrat-run cities and states are refusing to cooperate with ICE. Trump, in fact, blamed Democrats of stoking the flames of division, chaos, and violence. Meanwhile, responding to this, Minnesota Governor and Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz asked the U.S. president what will it take to get these federal agents out of Minnesota.
So now we've got 2 Minnesotans dead. We didn't had time to start telling Renee's story of a poet and a mother and a bright spirit, and now we're telling Alex's story. So my question is, what's the plan, Donald Trump? What is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state? You thought fear, violence, and chaos is what you wanted from us, and you clearly underestimated the people of this state and nation.
Former residents have also raised their voice against ICE shootings. Remember, Bill Clinton, the former U.S. president, accused the Trump administration of pushing lies against the victim. He said that the White House does not want us to believe what we saw happening. Barack and Michelle Obama also issued statements. The Obamas called the killing of Pretty a tragedy and said that the core values of America are under assault. The anger, meanwhile, has been mounting on the streets. More and more protesters are venturing out to protest despite the freezing cold. They are chanting slogans like "ICE out now," "No accountability," and carrying signs demanding justice for Alex Pretty and Renee Nicole Good. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live on the broadcast from New York. Susan, these are concerning times for the people of Minnesota. There has been confrontation going on since the last few weeks. And in the latest, I believe Donald Trump has now ordered Tom Homan to go to Minnesota and meet the people there. Of course, Tom Homan is also commonly called as the border czar, clearly reflecting that the Trump administration is not going to back off from Operation Metro Surge.
Yeah, the Trump administration is not going to back off, but there may be concerns about the messaging that the Department of Homeland Security under Kristi Noem is putting out regarding these incidents. Listen, one thing is for sure, And that's the fact that either these ICE officers and agents are extremely overwhelmed and they're terrified because they're constantly being doxxed by people about where they live and their families, or they're just not properly trained and they're just very nervous about what comes next. We see it in the latest incidents that happened. It's also true that local officials are not bringing down the temperature as well. They're telling their residents, like Tim Walz, the governor, to go out and film ICE agents and get involved in federal investigations. So that's also a cause for concern. But nonetheless, it does appear that the president wants to put the focus back on the massive fraud by the Somalian community in Minnesota and take the cameras and the coverage off what's happening between the demonstrators and ICE. That's not going to work. Someone has to bring down the temperature. But I think the legal proceedings and the court proceedings that are expected to happen this week, on whether or not ICE should be in Minnesota, how much authority the federal enforcement really has in Minnesota, those are going to sort of play out. And I think those court proceedings is going to give a better picture on how the Trump administration plans to proceed. But yes, the rhetoric is top notch. It's very divisive, and it doesn't seem that the temperature is coming down anytime soon.
All right, Susan, thanks very much for getting us the latest. I'll keep coming back to you for more from Minnesota.